Can artists survive the arrival of artificial intelligence? I'll be talking about that today. My name is Guillory. I'm a comic book creator, and the purpose of my channel is to encourage, inspire, and I hope give insight into the strange world of comics. Let's get into it. Hey folks, welcome back for another episode. As always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. So this week, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about artificial intelligence because it's basically everywhere at this point. Really in the past year, it's just exploded. There's AI generated images all over social media. If you go to any of these platforms, you're basically bombarded with a lot of overly shiny, a little too perfect artwork. You can basically see AI generated artwork from a mile away at this point. That's not to say it won't get better in the future. I imagine it's probably going to get harder to discern what's what in the future, which is disturbing. But really where it's kind of coming to a head by the time I record this is it has come to light in the last couple of weeks that Meta, the company behind Facebook and Instagram, has decided to create its own AI, Meta AI, and that they've decided to train this AI by feeding it all of the images we've been uploading to social media all this time. This presents a whole lot of problems, and I'm assuming there will be lawsuits at some point. But as of now, they seem pretty dedicated to doing it. There is no opting out of this in the United States. There is an opt-out feature in the UK, from my understanding. So I'm assuming we will get this opt-out feature in the States at some point. But even then, if we do get that opt-out feature, do we really trust these people? Do we really think that there's no downside to our relationship with these people? They basically revealed in the past, I mean, really from its beginning, that their value for the community is very, very small. They really only care about us in terms of what they can monetize and sell to advertisers. This is just a fact. So what do we do? Because this technology isn't going away. So how do we cope with it as creatives? That's a bit what I want to talk about today. I'll share with you basically how I'm coping with this and some of my gut instincts surrounding this technology right now. First off, I think the first thing I'm focusing on, and I think a lot of creatives should probably focus on, is not panicking and not freaking out. I think that was the initial kind of reaction people have to these things. Usually when the artist community hears about this kind of stuff, there's a freak out online. And I think it's right. I think that it's a rightful freak out to some degree. Obviously, there's a lot of complexities, and there's a massive betrayal of trust between the social media companies and creators. But there's no point in us freaking out and blowing up social media at this point. I think probably what's more fruitful is to just kind of strategize and start to figure out next steps. So that's where I'm focused at. I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to strategize. And next, I think really where I am focusing on, and really even before this AI thing happened, I was already focusing on diversifying my skills and stacking new skills on top of my existing ones. So writing and drawing have been my thing up to this point. I basically, over the past few years, really since COVID, started focusing on building some other skills, building websites. YouTube has been a big part of it as well. Learning YouTube, learning video, learning how to be more comfortable speaking on camera, getting better at communicating my actual thoughts. And that's a big part of where I'm focusing. But I think if you're a creator at this point, probably one of the worst situations you could be in is to have only one thing that you do and you don't have kind of more a wider array of sub skills around that. Because really what it looks like for creatives with this AI thing is the jobs that will be most in danger will be the ones that people value the least. In the comic world, I would imagine it'll be things like basic production. I imagine letterers, colorists, and I would imagine color flatters, the guys who do the flat colors of comic book pages. I imagine those jobs are probably going to be in a bit of a bind because I could absolutely see companies and really just individual artists using AI to do these jobs. So I think if you only have that one thing that you do, if you're only a color flatter, you need to diversify. So that's where my focus is on. I think this is just a smart move to just get more skills to stack on top of one another so you could do more and hopefully earn a living from it, or at least cover your bases. Next, and I think the obvious next step is to not post on these platforms, at least not posting original art. At this point, I'm not posting any original art on these platforms, on Facebook or on Instagram. I'll basically just be posting advertisements for what I'm doing in other platforms. I don't trust Meta at this point. I really haven't trusted them really from the beginning. But this is really the nail in the coffin on that relationship. But I'm obviously I'm not going to delete the platforms. I have like thousands of followers on both. So I'm going to keep that relationship open, hope that it gets better. But for the time being, until I see where Meta's going, I'm not posting on these platforms. And sort of building on that, next what I'm focusing on doing is basically using Meta as a funnel to push people to other platforms. I think one of the worst things we can do is to just isolate and consolidate all of our audience and our contacts all to just one of these platforms. Just, having all of your followers on Instagram, all of them on Facebook or whatever is a bad move, which is why I've been focusing on basically pointing my audience to other places where I have a bit more control. Namely, newsletters are huge. So if you haven't started a newsletter yet, I would highly recommend that. I started one back in 2020, right when COVID was happening. I started a newsletter basically because I just felt like when the world was kind of going crazy with COVID and you didn't really know how things were going to shake out, I started realizing how fragile these institutions are, that these companies come and go all the time. I just realized how foolish it was that I really didn't have access to my audience beyond these platforms. So that's where the newsletter came in. And at this point, it's grown pretty large. And it's been a great access point directly connecting me with my audience. And what's beautiful about it is I get to control that relationship. I get to control the atmosphere and the tone of everything I'm putting out. Plus, it's basically like a captive audience. When you go to a social media platform and you're posting, if your audience even gets to see your stuff, if they actually see it, they kind of forget about it as soon as they keep scrolling on to the next thing. The beautiful thing about a newsletter is it is just me. It's just you on that scrolling newsletter. They get to engage with you fully without distractions. So I think newsletters are great. Personal websites are great. I'm also pointing them toward my Patreon. Also YouTube, obviously the YouTube, pointing them toward YouTube, but even pointing them towards snail mail because I think physical mailouts are I think they're just cool and fun. Honestly, I'm not all that worried about the long game of the AI thing. My gut instinct is that this will be bad in the immediate. This is going to really hurt a lot of people in the immediate. It's going to cost some jobs. It already is. It's at least for the entertainment sector. I think that people tend to like watching people and engaging with people. I think that the mistake that people who are leaning into the AI in terms of art, the mistake they're making is that they're thinking that art is just about the finished product. They're thinking that it's just about a pretty image. It's really not just about a pretty image. It's not just about a product. It's about the people behind it. It's always has been, which is why we think of the great artists by name. We think of Michelangelo. We think of Vincent van Gogh. We think about the people behind the thing. And I think ultimately, though it may hurt in the immediate, I imagine in the long term, it's going to go back to a personal connection with the artist. I think we should lean into that as much as possible, which is a big part of why I started this YouTube channel to begin with, because the sense I got was we are moving into a space where people want to know the people behind the thing that they support. They want to know the artists behind the books. They want to know the musicians behind the thing, the songs they listen to. They want to know people and they want to support people, not so much brands, but actual people. So I think the odd side effect of all this AI thing in the long term, it will increase the desire for genuine human connection. I just have a gut feeling. I could be absolutely wrong, but that's where I am. So in closing, I hope that this is encouraging to you and to some degree. I know that some of this stuff can be really stressful and really kind of depressing to some degree, but I don't think it's hopeless by any stretch. I think creatives have always been very good at adapting, and we're going to have to adapt to this. But I think we will be able to get through it. I think ultimately art is not going to go anywhere, and we just need to be smart about how we approach this and do our best to leverage the skills that we have. And I think we're going to be okay. So let me know how you're doing. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about all this AI stuff, where you at on it, any way I can help. I'm happy to help. Like, share, subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope it's a peaceful week. Stay off of social media as best as you can. I hope it's a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye.